So for a while now, we have known that Assassin's Creed Valhalla will have its very own settlement, similar to Connor's homestead in Assassin's Creed 3, and of course Ezio's Monteriggioni in Assassin's Creed 2, but unfortunately not in Assassin's Creed Brotherhood because it got blown to shit. But in Assassin's Creed Valhalla, we finally have the name of our settlement, and it is called Ravensthorpe. And recently, Game Informer, GameSpot, and Eurogamer were able to sit down for an hour-long presentation by the lead level designer at Ubisoft Montreal, David Boll, and in this they got to see how the settlement grows and expands our story. So in this video, I'm going to be going over everything you need to know about the settlement in Assassin's Creed Valhalla. So if you're going to enjoy the video, hit the like button down below, and of course remember to subscribe for some more Assassin's Creed Valhalla content. Now without further ado, let's get straight into the video. Now David Boll tells them that it's really tricky to show the settlement as it is the core of the game. He's worked on Eivor's settlement from the project start. He goes on to say it is the centerpiece that everything folds back into here, including a lot of narrative and a big story turning points. Now over the course of an hour-long presentation, they did not get to see any spoilers, but they did get to see as the settlement grew in a fast-forward pace and Boll zips through its evolution. Tents are turning into timber frame buildings, cluster of houses in a forest clearing into a bustling little community. When Eivor first arrives, Ravensthorpe is little more than a Saxon longhouse and a couple of tumble-down shacks. Now tents will be light scattered, and from these you can choose which buildings to begin adding. One of the first selections you will have will be the blacksmith, who will be able to eventually upgrade weapons in a similar manner to those found in Odyssey, though this service will now be found exclusively in your settlement, meaning you can't go to somewhere else out in the world and upgrade your gear. Your longhouse, however, becomes the base of operations for yourself and Randvi, whom Boll describes as the settlement's de facto leader. She is the wife of Eivor's brother Sigurd, whose role takes him elsewhere, presumably finding the ancient and the hidden ones, and he can be usually found to the game's large campaign map. Think Dragon Age Inquisition's war table. Now also Valhalla's map covers the eastern half of England from Northumberland down to the Isle of Wight, and there's a room for Eivor to one side of the longhouse with a bed to heal up in and a box where you'll receive letters. Now constructing further buildings and unlocking their services requires resources you'll find across Valhalla's world, most notably by raiding up and down the rivers of Britain. The various wood and material currencies can be swiped from the chests of abbeys or the underground vaults of church buildings and then invested back into your own settlement. The suggestion was you could also get these from forming alliances and from elsewhere in the game's open world. After being built, you will not only get that building and its services, but stories and missions involving that particular villager, letting you befriend and potentially romance them. Other buildings included the stable and aviary, where a Saxon named Rowan will sell mounts. It looks like you won't have a dedicated horse, and I'm okay with this because if we can, upgrade our horses, make them look different, to give them different colors, different hair, I'm okay with that. Of course, different armor as well, very similar to how we could do with Roach in The Witcher 3. I think that'd be quite cool. And you can also customize your faithful raven with paint jobs. I'm gonna go with a fully white one to try and make him look like an eagle, just because Assassin's Creed. You can also train your mounts and swap resources for unlocked stat boosts, which all horses will benefit from. These include added health, so you can make leaps from greater heights, added endurance as galloping now saps at your stamina bar, and swimming lessons, effectively turning your horse into a four-legged boat. Alternatively, you can invest your money in the trading post for purchasing new resources and cosmetics, and there is a lot of tattoo designs in this game, or the barracks, which lets you design and outfit your own Viking lieutenant. You can customize their appearance, dress and arm them with any gear you've unlocked, and even share them with a friend so they can add them to their raiding longships as well. Outside, a chap named Mundy plays Orlog, a dice game which looks a bit like Yahtzee. I've never played it, so I have no clue. Lastly, there's the Hidden Ones Bureau, which will be of particular interest to long-term Assassin's Creed fans. This office is staffed by a proto-assassin named Hytham. Yeah, really. Hytham? Ubisoft, if you want to give us hints to Assassin's Creed games, you may as well just call him Altair, because Hytham is very close to a beloved Templar called Hytham. Very, very spooky. Or I could just be talking bollocks, either or. But he looks after a sprawling board of targets filled with tiers of mysterious figures who need a good stabbing. Eivor and the Hidden Ones are described as having a common enemy which has dug itself into England. The returning proto-Templars known as the Order of the Ancients. As in Odyssey, there appears to be an overall boss you'll slowly uncover and work your way up to facing. And that's at level 1 of your settlement. There are 6 in total. Later levels let you unlock a hunter's hut where you can exchange animal parts and turn legendary hides into trophies for your longhouse, a fishing hut where you can acquire a rod and start catching aquatic animals. Of course, different areas have different species, a tattooist with a tattooed pig wandering outside, a shipyard, a brewery, a bakery, a cartographer, a museum, a seer's hut, a graveyard, individual houses for a number of key characters, and a couple of farms. There are statue areas you can customize as well, and there are wandering dogs and cats you can pet, and as we know, you can have them in your longship, which is just great to see. Now, some of these are self-explanatory, but while some offer unexpected advantages. Farms, for instance, increase the amount of food you have available at feasts, which you can choose to hold in your longhouse before setting out on raiding missions. The higher level the farm, these in turn can be leveled up separate to the settlement, the better the grub and the more of a buff your crew will get when stomping on monasteries at your side. Shipyards offer customization options for your longboat similar to those found in Odyssey's menus. The tattoo shop lets you place different designs on your parts of the body. You can change your hairstyles and colors. Male Ava will also be able to take advantage of beard customization here. The cartographer otherwise provides you with maps for regions you've already visited. Otherwise, you're encouraged to explore these and discover activities or side quests on your own. Your museum, meanwhile, is run by a British Roman fanatic, Octavian, who promises to repair local ruins. Now, one key building available a little later in the game is the Seer's Hut, decorated by hanging strings of bones and beads and run by a woman named Valka. She brews a mixture which Eivor can drink to access another time, another plane, which seems to be how you'll access the game's mythical side, similar to Odyssey's Atlantis. From the game's initial trailer, we've known that Odin will play some part in the proceedings, and Valhalla's developers have said the Norse gods will be included somehow. Here it looks like they'll be easily accessible from your settlement. Now, Bowl says it's a whole new segment of the game, and it's pretty big. So that's the basic setup, but it feels clear that the settlement is meant to be much more than this. The settlement is more than buildings just popping up over the place, and is a lot different than what we had at the homestead and Altair's Monteriggioni. Here's another thing I'm getting from this, is that the settlement is a core part of the game. The settlement is its own character, and you can help progress that character's story by completing certain missions, getting certain characters, and just upgrading the base overall. Now, and of course, if you add new additions to community, that just expands Valhalla's storyline and Eivor's saga even more and even more. And of course, you can explore different romantic storylines and quest lines to your heart's content, because if, let's say for instance, you see this lovely lady, this lovely lady walking down the park, and you go, hey, my name's Eivor, or female in the female voice, but I'm not gonna do that. Do you wanna fuck? And then they do. That'd be cool, sick, yeah, and now I'm done. There's a guy. I wanna fuck him now. You can do that. Of course, I'm paraphrasing, but you can do that. Now, Bolt goes on to say it was really important to make it feel like you were coming home when you travel back after a journey. It can be 5 or 6 hours between visits, so you want to see the people you know, find out what has been happening with them, and it's like when you live somewhere else and come back to your parents' house. You want to see your old friends. It's a comforting feeling. Sometimes you'll be greeted with sad news, sometimes happy. The settlement is meant to reflect the passing years and life's ups and downs, and also the clashing of cultures within the village. Now, the settlement is home to Viking and Saxon characters, as well as others from the modern day Middle East and Asia. Each have their own personality and personal histories and plot reasons for being there. Now, Bowl showed off one example of a personality clash within the settlement in a humorous scene sparked upon a particular return to camp. He pointed out a horse wandering around without a tail, and a character having taken up a painting, an easel with their work now drying in the sun. Inside the longhouse, however, the characters were arguing. The artist had lopped off the horse's tail to use it as a paintbrush, and Ava was asked to sit and make a judgment on who he sided with. Now, from the game's announcement, Ubisoft have been keen to emphasize Valhalla's Vikings as settlers as well as raiders as the centerpiece for the game, and even while demonstrated in Fast Forward, the settlement seems to be living up to the quieter side of things. And yes, while this is another RPG trope added into Assassin's Creed, it's one that also turns the series' relatively recent reinventation back to its roots. One thing that Odyssey tried to do was get Cassandra to settle down, to get her to have a place where you could feel at home, where you could feel you belonged. Valhalla, from all of the information we have, seems to be wanting to do that with Eivor, bringing us back to the roots of Assassin's Creed 2 with Monteriggioni. Because you have to admit, whenever you came back to Monteriggioni, you just felt like you belonged there. It was a great place of being, and it was just, it was just cool to upgrade stuff. Now, one thing I do want to talk about is, of course, the mystical beings, but I think I'm going to do that in another video because it deserves its own video. in Odyssey, it wasn't really described as much as it has been now, but we finally have solid confirmation about how Odin and these gods will be part of the game, so that will be getting its own video tomorrow, so make sure you're subscribed for that. Now guys and girls, this has been the video. I hope you have enjoyed. If you have, click the like button down below, and of course remember to subscribe for some more Assassin's Creed Valhalla content. The game is releasing in under a month, and I will be certain to bring you tips and tricks, gameplays, walkthroughs, live streams, everything your heart could desire. Now I hope you all have an amazing day, and I'll see you in the next video.